Hey guys, before this video gets started, I just want to let you know this was actually recorded back in early July. So the player of the month for August is De'Aaron Fox, and that's live on our Patreon right now. So player of the month is a Patreon exclusive series, but we did kind of just want to give you a taste of what it looks like to see what we got going on our Patreon. In addition to this, we just uploaded our first ever points league rankings. So if you're a points league player and dying for some content, we've got that on there for you as well. We really appreciate all the support thus far, and if you like us and you like this content and want to support what we do, feel free to check out the Patreon in the description below. Like I said, this was recorded back in early July, so some of the stuff has changed for Boston. Obviously, shouldn't be too outdated because not a ton has happened, but just wanted to mention that as well. Let us know what you think and enjoy. Welcome everyone to Player of the Month. This is a Patreon exclusive series where we do a little bit of a deeper dive on one player per month. This month it's going to be Anfernee Simons on the new look Celtics. In this Patreon exclusive episode, we're going to kind of look at his fit on the Celtics as well as just him as an overall fantasy player. But joining me today is Andrew. Andrew, how are you doing today?
Doing good, Brax. Really excited about this. Like we mentioned with our Patreon, it's going to be bringing in a bunch of bonus content that we haven't done before. And this Player of the Month series is definitely a new one. So this is an exciting one because we have a new look Celtics team. And Anfernee Simons is definitely a pretty exciting player to talk about. And what'll be good about this series is that it'll either be us glazing one player, us hating on one player, or perhaps our opinions will differentiate and we will be debating about one player. So this is going to be pretty exciting for this series moving forward.
100%. And I love that we both said new look when in reality it means awful. Celtics are not looking good, right? But that kind of bleeds into my first point. I want to talk a little bit about this Celtics team and some of your thoughts on maybe his fit as well as I guess maybe the Celtics team as a whole. Let's start there. It's for some of the moves they made. It looks like they really wanted to get under the luxury tax. Kind of dumping Kristaps Porzingis, sending Drew Holiday in the Simons deal, although there wasn't a ton of cap savings there. And the signings they're making in free agency, guys like Josh Minott, Luka Garza, are not the most exciting. So, Andrew, I'd love to get your take on kind of what this Celtics team looks like next year. And as you kind of speak, I'll have this depth chart up on the screen here for you.
Yeah, so this Celtics depth chart is very interesting because not only are they missing the points output of Tatum, they are also missing the points output of Kristaps Porzingis, which is pretty significant too. So it's not like there's only one 20-plus per game scorer that needs to be replaced here. Kristaps represents another one of those. And then, of course, I mean, Drew Holiday and Al Horford weren't putting up, 20 points per game, but they were obviously still heavily involved in the rotation. They're not in Boston anymore. Luke Cornett is not in Boston anymore. So we got, Neemias Queta as potentially the starting center, which, I know we're talking about Simons, but him for 9 cap value, if he's getting a bunch of minutes, I love that one. But with this new Celtics roster, like you said, even though Drew to Simons was not a ton of cap savings, Simons is on his last year of his contract and will be an unrestricted free agent next season, or after next season, I should say. So with that being said, he is on his contract year. Now, I kind of go back and forth on if I care about this or not, but there are some people that put some serious stock into a player being on their prove it contract year. And that potentially could be the situation coming in for Simons here. Give me your thoughts on that. In addition to, in this Joe Mazzulla system, chucking up the most threes in the NBA, somebody who ranked within the top 20 of three-pointers made per game in Anfernee Simons now joining this roster.
Yeah, I look at this depth chart here and it's like, I almost like I see it in front of my face and I see the moves they made, but like I almost like don't believe this is going to be the team that they go in with, right? Even though they're maxed out at 18 players right now going into the summer league, they've made probably all of the signings that they're going to make. George Niang is going to play a huge role for this team off the bench. I mean, realistically, Andrew, and one, do we think Niang is a starter on this team? I mean, I guess he has to be, right, until Tatum comes back. But also, like, I don't know. I can't like wrap my head around this being the team that they're going to go into the season with, especially as you mentioned, Queta as the center. Simons, and to tie this back into Simons is going to get all of the shots he wants, right? They
Yeah.
might just kind of play, okay, your turn, my turn with Jaylen Brown, similar to what they've done with Jason Tatum. They're going to do, and I think I talked a little bit about this on our rookie live or the draft night live stream, but it's not really something that you see a lot where, I mean, in fantasy, you see teams do kind of a quick 1 year tank and then go back at it. But in real life, you don't see this happen a lot where, okay, we're going to tank for 1 year as a result of an injury or whatever it is. And then just kind of the year after, we're going to be competitive again. So I thought that was a really interesting facet of this as well. But yeah, do you think, well, I guess a question coming out of that too is, do you think Simon starts on this team? I don't know. I mean, he can, unless they want to start 3 guards, right?
Right. Because, yeah, if they start him, like him and Pritchard at 1 and 2, that means Derek White needs to play the 3 and Jaylen Brown needs to play the 4. Jaylen Brown was originally drafted as a power forward, but I definitely would not consider him as such. So that leaves that spot for what? Like a Niang, maybe Sam Hauser, maybe Jordan Walsh, Josh Minot. Baylor Shireman is still involved in this situation as well, too. So we really don't have too much of a clear picture of what this Celtics rotation is going to look like, mainly coming from their front court. Their back court is much more of a clear picture where a lot of this, especially 3-point spacing, is going to come from Pritchard and Simons and, of course, Derek White. And then, a lot of the downhill attacking overall rim threat presence is mostly going to be coming from Jaylen Brown at this point. He's going to be the primary star, the primary ball handler of this team. Majority of this offense will run through him, but they still, they're still sticking true to a Joel Mazzulla system. They have a ton of shooters on this team. Like Niang, that's what his specialty is. So really, aside from the centers on this roster, everybody else that's on this roster can shoot threes. They did just bring in Hugo Gonzalez as well. I like him a lot from a rookie standpoint, and of course, like the opportunity that he gets here. One person we forgot to put on this depth chart actually is Amari Williams, the new center that they drafted from Kentucky.
Okay, sure.
Brax, you might like him because he is a good assists center. He had over 2 assists per game playing for Kentucky, and right now they have not brought in too much other center depth yet. So somebody who put up this many 3-pointers per game looks like he's going to fit pretty well into this Joe Mazzulla system. And one thing that I will also note is last year, Portland, where Simons was playing, was starting to, maybe approach potentially play-in status. They were getting a little bit better throughout the year. Also, we're beginning to prioritize Scoot Henderson a little bit more. So Simon's minutes dipped slightly last year. He was at 35 minutes a game 2 years ago, 34 minutes a game last year. And then this previous season, most recent season, he was at 32 minutes a night. And so that actually caused his points per game to dip below 20. But he was at 19.3. So I think that could definitely go back up towards that 35 minute per night threshold on this Celtics team, because who else is going to play that amount of minutes? I don't think they're going to be sending out, JD Davidson or someone else along those lines to be especially a 3-point threat and floor spacer. And Simons is able to do some playmaking as well. Like, I was never insanely high. Like, there's a lot of people who are very high on both Simons and Shaedon Sharpe within that Portland team. I wasn't insanely high on either, but I was for sure higher on Simons just because of his ability to create. He was at 4 assists per game last year, so he does offer a bit more than just shooting from a 9-category fantasy standpoint. And really, I mean, I just think in this rebuild, he's going to get all the run that he can handle. There might be some type of battle between him and Pritchard for minutes at least that point guard spot, because I don't really see anybody unseating Derek White for his spot. He's crucial to the team. I don't know if they're going to trade him away.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah.
And I love your point about, trying to, I guess I want to transition now into him kind of as a 9-category guy in general, right? You mentioned those assists there. He can do more than just score. So I'd love to get your thoughts. Is he somebody you like in category leagues? Because I know in previous years for me, he wasn't really somebody I targeted. I don't know if that was just because of his situation in Portland, and I apologize if you can hear my dog in the background. She's going a little crazy, but I don't know if that was because of his situation, but I don't know. Andrew, what are your thoughts?
So for his situation, I mean, the playmaking is nice. In addition to that, for his stat set, that over 90% from the free throw line is great too. I think his free throw volume might go up a tiny bit in Boston as well, just because he's probably going to get the ball in his hands a bit more than what he did with Portland. Like, for example, in the 2023-24 season, he was at almost 4 free throw attempts per game. That went down a little bit, but again, that's mainly for Portland trying to integrate Scoot Henderson into the system a little bit more during his sophomore campaign. So I don't see a reason why numbers like his scoring volume and free throw attempt rate aren't going to rise on a team like Boston, who really doesn't have much else going for them in the scoring department aside from Peyton Pritchard and Jaylen Brown. Yes, Derek White's going to be there, but he's more of that jack of all trades. He's more of that super glue guy. So with Simons too, like, you're given such a long leash to work with sometimes on these tanking teams. Sometimes it can bring some bad habits, but I think a lot of that's going to get cleaned up by Joe Mazzulla. Also, one thing I will point out too is last season was Simons' highest steal output. He was at 0.9 steals per game, so almost 1 steal per game. And he has really never been anywhere close to that, never anywhere close to 1 steal per game until last year. One reason for that might be age. 26 years old, he is entering his physical prime. So if you ask me, the physical prime window for the NBA is 26 to 32 or maybe 31 years old. So not only is he still at the height of his overall athletic prowess, remember this is a former dunk contest winner, he has that highlight reel athleticism, but also too, when you approach this age of 26, 27, the mental side of the game, the overall understanding of how the game works, where you're supposed to be, decision making, that overall maturity that comes with age falls in line here as well. So reaching his athletic prime and being under the tutelage of a very, very good coach actually does leave me with a bit of hope here. Maybe his field goal percentage won't rise much, but I think the volume of what he's doing is probably going to rise a bit. And he's pretty clean with his turnover game too. He was at 2 turnovers a game flat last year, despite having the ball in his hands quite a bit.
Yeah, and I mean, we did see that decrease kind of last year as opposed to the 2 years prior. If we're talking just 9 category rankings, last year he finished 99th overall in the season, whereas the year in 23-24 and 22-23, it was 64 and 79 respectfully. So, and you can, as you can see, I've got the stats pulled up on the screen here. I mean, you can tell why. It was just an overall increase in his scoring output. As well as from the 23-24 to the 24-25 season, we saw those assists dip slightly. That's probably as a result, a direct result, I should say, as Scoot Henderson got better kind of over the course of the season, right? He turned from one of probably, and keep me honest here if I'm being hyperbolic, he was probably one of the most negative players on the floor, not just for Portland, but maybe for a lot of teams. I think he was pretty bad. So that's kind of I guess what I'm trying, my point is that's probably why we saw the dip of assists with Simons. But on this Celtics team, Andrew, to your point, I do think we might see him get back up to that 22, maybe 23, 24 points per game. I mean, I think it's super possible, especially if he's playing 34 minutes, 35 minutes per night. And if he does, you might see him jump back up into that top 75 range where, maybe somebody who's in a redraft league, I don't know if this is necessarily going to happen because I think a lot of people are going to kind of be keyed in on this but if your league mates are low on him in a redraft league and he's falling, that 85, 90, 100 range for some reason, just based on recency bias in his year last year, definitely somebody I'm looking to grab in that range for sure. But also on the contrary, and it's so early to tell right now, just based on where we are in the offseason, it's possible we see him get super overdrafted, which is not something we're talking about much at all, right? It's possible that people might overvalue him going into the season for some of the reasons that we're saying now, right? So it might swing, the pendulum might swing in the other direction. So that's something to be wary of as well. I don't think he gets like into top 40, top 45 range without increasing those steals like you mentioned. If those steals can get over 1 per game, it's definitely possible, right? Along with the field goal percentage. If he's able to increase that, which I don't think is going to happen with what we're predicting his role to be on this Celtics team. But if it does, that would be kind of his pathway to that top 45, top 50 range. But yeah, something to be mindful of and something I definitely want to look at as we get closer to the beginning of the season is to see, okay, is he being overvalued or undervalued, specifically in redraft leagues? But I do want to talk about his dynasty value a little bit. Andrew, we have him, and I don't have the rank in front of me, but we have him ranked.
I got it here.
Oh, you got where do we have him ranked on our latest?
So we have him currently at 115th overall. This ranking was done when he was still on Portland. The three players directly above Kawhi Leonard, Jimmy Butler, Jaden McDaniels. The three players directly below him, Norm Powell, DeAndre Ayton, and Peyton Pritchard, his new teammate. So with that, just on the outskirts of the top 100. And, with his redraft rank last year at 99, what I think the main reason you and I are on this pod for is likely him probably pushing into top 80, top 70 for both redraft and potentially dynasty as well too, depending on how this season goes. Like for redraft for that 23-24 season, his rank was about 30 spots higher, and really the changes in output were mostly marginal, just about 2-3 more points per game, one more free throw attempt per game. His 3-pointers per game were slightly higher in that 23-24 season as well. So I really don't think it's a lot to ask at all for him to get back towards those numbers, especially if he can keep that steal rate close to 1 as possible, because in that 23-24 season, he was at 0.5 steals per game, which is awful. So if he maintains that and then starts to creep towards the offensive output he had during that season, I really don't see any reason why he's not going to finish within the top 80 for redraft. And then for dynasty rank, obviously when we did it, he was still on Portland. So now he's on Boston, and we have that to take in consideration. There's other potential moves that that are going to happen throughout free agency. Maybe some other trades that'll happen. Maybe he explodes once the season starts for Boston. So I wouldn't be shocked at all if come our free November update, he's at 85 overall within our dynasty ranks, something along those lines. That wouldn't shock me whatsoever. And so I think that's a big reason why you and I are here today, is try to get on this early, before people like ourselves, other dynasty content creators out there start bumping Simons up within their top 100. I imagine he's either in the 90s or on the outskirts of the top 100 for most people, for most content creators for dynasty. And so, we're trying to let our Patreon followers know early that you can expect a rise. Most likely, this situation is definitely favorable for him.
So with that being said, is he somebody you're buying right now in dynasty leagues, or is he somebody you're selling with this kind of this rise we're predicting?
So that's going to be so dependent on your league mates. There's probably people out there who are willing to pay, top 70 value for him. And so if you don't want to take the gamble that he makes it work, then yeah, if someone's going to offer you a top 70 dynasty asset for him, take it. I mean, and especially too in a salary league, his salary is not too bad for what he produces. But maybe you find, you get an offer of a really nice pick in this draft. Maybe somebody's still on a rookie scale deal who you probably have ranked as a higher tier dynasty asset. You could go for that as well too. Maybe someone offers you a Modest Bazelis, something along those lines. Someone might like him more than potentially waiting to see what Simons does. But with that being said, there also might be some people who think, I don't really know if Simons, he might just be kind of the same thing. Maybe they're just really more so associating like his previous years in Portland and aren't really, too enthusiastic about this Boston move. And that's where you could potentially take advantage. Maybe someone swaps Simons to you in exchange for someone that you have ranked right around like the outskirts of the top 100, or maybe right around 100 or late 90s. And then you take that bet that Simons is going to maybe jump up to, let's say, like the 80s or something dynasty wise. That's something that I can totally see happen as well too. So definitely try to keep a good pulse on how excited people are about this move. In all honesty, I don't really think that many people are talking about this move in general. I think people are more fascinated with the Celtics tearing it down as opposed to Simons is in a really good spot here.
Yeah, and I thought it was particularly interesting the way for the price that the Celtics got for him. They they attached the Blazers attached 2 picks to Anfernee Simons for Drew Holiday, right? They attached 2 second-round picks for that swap. So I just thought that was particularly interesting. Maybe the Blazers thought they'd be losing him in free agency. Who knows what's going on over there. But just to kind of wrap this up and tie it up with a bow, let's get a prediction from you, and then I'll do one myself on his stats, as well as where do you think he finishes on the season in 9 categories.
I definitely think he'll get back above 20 points per game, maybe around 21 points per game. If he creeps towards 22, 23, that would be excellent, but I'm not going to go that far. I think the field goal percentage will still stay low. He's going to be a punt field goals player. That's for sure, just the way he is. Most of his shots are threes. He's attempting 8 or 9 threes per game. When you're attempting that volume of threes, your field goal percentage is going to be pretty low. So I'm not expecting that, but he is a rock solid free throws anchor. And if that free throw attempt rate goes up a little bit from 2.8 last year to more in that 23-24 season, where it was at 3.9, and he still shot over 90% in that season as well, that's going to be huge. I think it's way more reliable to go for free throws as your strength efficiency category than to rely on field goal percentage, which I think has much more of a wild degree of variance. Not a great rebounder. I'll still keep it at like maybe 3 rebounds per game or less. That assist rate, 4.8. If he can get it anywhere closer to 5 or even above 5, that's going to be massive. And what we really want is for him to keep his steals. So let me think here. 21 points per game, 2.5 rebounds, 5.2 assists, 0.8 steals, 3.5 three-pointers made per game. Still over 90% from the line, at least at 3.5 attempts per game. I'm thinking he's going to round in at least top 80, top 85 value redraft wise. And if he finishes for that redraft wise, then within Dynasty, he's going to need to be at least, within the top 90, especially with his age, 26 years old. It's not like we're talking about a 31, 32-year-old player here. This is someone just now entering their athletic prime.
100%. And also, I mean, something we also didn't talk much about is he's a potential long-term piece for the Celtics team if he shows out this season, right?
Yes.
Part of it could have been, okay, we're trying to get off the Drew Holiday contract, but if he has a nice season, who's to say he doesn't stick around in Boston and be a nice complementary piece around Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum? So I'm going to bounce off of your prediction. I'm going to go with 23, 3, and 5 assists. I like the 3.5 threes per game. Anybody who can get you that volume of threes and then also get you, 4 or 5 assists is going to be hugely valuable in category leagues. And I think I'm going to have him around maybe I'm going to go with 75 or 80, maybe like peak Terry Rozier type numbers in terms of 9 category. Like peak Charlotte Hornets Terry Rozier, I should say. So 75 or 80, I think is reasonable. I think I'm going to throw out a hot take here. If he can get his field goal percentage up to 45%, let's say he just goes on a complete scorcher, I think it's possible he creeps inside the top 60. Yeah. But
that would be huge.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's really the only thing that's holding him back is you said it's a punt field goal guy. So if that can creep up, he turns into somebody who can fit on any build and is not going to drag you down anywhere. But yeah, and with that being said, that's going to do it for our Player of the Month on Anfernee Simons. We're going to do one of these every month. If you guys have suggestions, throw it down in the comments. We'll take all of them into consideration. Usually going to try and get somebody that's pretty topical and relevant for that month. So happy to talk about deeper league guys if you'd like. But yeah, up to you. And yeah, thanks so much for watching. If you're on Patreon, thanks so much for supporting. And yeah, we'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks.